Okay, we continue on with our testing lessons here, and the next test we're going to do is we're going to be measuring the pH of the urine, and we're going to measure the pH of the saliva. And what you'll need for this particular test now, we'll be using our well plate. And again, this is the 12 banger, we call it, because there's 12 wells on it. And you're going to need your pipette that was in the urine. You're going to need your saliva. And you're going to need another pipette. So we're going to take this pipette here. And what we're going to do is use the top row, if we can see the top row okay with the camera, and that's the way we teach it here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pull up some urine into your pipette, and you're going to put one drop. Let's first let me number these, okay? If you were to call these by numbers, this would be well number 1, well number 2, well number 3, well number 4, well number 5, well number 6. And if you wanted to continue, this would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? So that'll help you remember. We're going to be using wells 1, 2, 5, 4, and 5 in this test. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the urine, as we said, we pull some urine up, and we're going to drop one drop of urine into wells 1 and well 2. We're then going to take the pipette for the saliva, pull some saliva up into it, and we're going to put a drop in well number 4, and we're going to put a drop in well number 5. And this actually should be gotten rid of now. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to move these out of the way, out of the block here. Maybe they were just extras. And we're going to put these over here for now. The first reagent we're going to use, and just let me say a word about the reagents. The reason we use the reagents instead of a pH meter or tape is this. The reagents are the steadiest, the most reliable way of testing the pH. I have never found a better way. We've used pH meters in the past, and we have found them to be very, very touchy. Sometimes, if they're not properly calibrated, they will give you false readings, and even when they seem to be properly calibrated, sometimes they seem to give false readings as well. The pH paper is also problematic. It doesn't give as clear a reading as the reagents. The reagents are the goldenrod standard, and that's why we use them. The only people that are going to have trouble with these, of course, are people that are colorblind. At that point, then, we're going to suggest that you spend some good money on a good pH meter in the range of $250 to $300. But as it stands now, these pH reagents are very reasonable in price, and they offer, to what we've been able to find, the best and most consistent readings of all. And this is what Dr. Reams always used with the pH reagents. Okay. We will first use our bromthiamyl blue to test the first drop of urine and the first drop of saliva. And you'll see why we put a drop of each in the next two afterwards, depending on what we see here. So what I like to do is kind of shake it a little bit and make sure that it's coming out nicely, and you're going to just let it drop right over and go right into the well plate. And look at that. This person's got a nice color pH. And so we put one drop in each. Then we're going to take our pH cards, and we're going to, excuse me, I'm going to go right in front of the camera. I apologize. what I'm going to do is I will use these small cards. It'll make it a little easier to look at, but I showed you my large copies here also that could be used. Okay, but I'll use the small ones. They are about the same. The copies are very, very close. I'd say 95%. They nailed the colors about 95, a little bit better than 95%. Okay, what you want to do is you're going to use your bromthiamyl blue card, because that's the reagent we used. And we're going to first take a look and compare what we've gotten for readings here. So, for the camera's sake, I'm going to raise this up a little bit so you can see. And what you'll notice is that on that urine pH, and also I need to explain, it's very important to have good lighting here. If you can have natural light, sunlight, that's going to be your best lighting. The second best lighting that you can get are these natural lights. They're called Vita lights, and I would highly recommend you get those. Fluorescents are going to be your third. And then after that are the regular light bulbs that we mostly use in our homes, and they are terrible. And you'll get off readings from them. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at about that top number is looking at about a 6, I'd say a 6.3. Very close. It's almost a 6.4, but it looks just slightly lighter than a 6.4. So it's a 6.3. And what that means is that with that number, we're not going to have to go to the chlorophenol red to verify. Oops, it's in the wrong. We're not going to have to go to the chlorophenol red to verify whether it is less than a 6.0 or not, because we can see that it's not. If, for example, the color was a yellow, then we would that's what we would use the next well plate for. We'd put a chlorophenol red drop in there, because your chlorophenol red covers from 6.8 to 5.2, where your bromthiamyl only covers from 7.6 to 6.0. So this is a cross check, and it is used to figure what the pH actually is if it's too low for the bromthiamyl blue. But in this case it wasn't. However, we're now going to look at the other number, and what do we see here? Yeah, it's certainly not a blue. We can tell that. And when we bring it over here, I would say you're looking in the vicinity of a 7.2 to 7.3, somewhere in that area. Takes a little while to get used to this. What you want to do is look at the color. Look at both the color, the pH card and the specimen. And compare, look, and see if you can see any blue in that specimen. Can you? I see a little blue in there. So it's not just green. It does have some blue in it, but it's not completely blue. So this looks like it could be between a 7.2 and a 7.3. You could even call it a 7.2 plus if you don't want to call it a 7.3. I'm going to call it a 7.3. In this case, again, since we know for sure what the color is, from the bromthiamyl card, we don't have to go to the next card up, which is the phenol red. And pardon me, but this is my original phenol red card. It's all beaten up. But if, for example, we had a very dark blue there, at that point we probably wouldn't be sure, and so we would then take a drop of phenol red, and we would get colors probably from this range right on up to 8.4, which is as high as you can go on the pH for a human. And so those are your cross checks. I just mentioned the Bromcresol green. That goes from 3.8 to 5.4. It's a rarity that you use this, but it does come up every now and then. And so you might need that. That would be the only time that you would have to use more than 2 wells, because you would have used the first for the bromthiamyl, the second for the chlorophenol, okay, and because that would have taken you down to 5.2. But if you knew you were less than 5.2 in the chlorophenol, then you'd have to bring in the Bromcresol, and then you'd have to use an extra well. And at that point, that kind of throws the continuity off, but you just have to wing it then. Okay, now we know our pHs. We know what they came out as. And by the way, let me just show you my card here, just so you can see how nice those colors are on that copy. And again, I'd like to really recommend that you buy these cards for yourself so that you have them, since we can't get the originals right now. So that you'll have both the copy of the original and the color cards that you're sent with your pH kit. Okay, so next to the 3.3 sugar, we're going to write the 6.3 over the 7.3. Now, the way we used to do this is we write the 7.3 goes up here, and I'm sorry, 6.3 was the top number, my fault, and the 7.3 is the bottom number. And it's written like a fraction, but it's not a fraction. The urine is always on top of the saliva, and that is a 6, believe it or not. I just got messed up. I had to change the 7 back to a 6. So that's how you would write it on the card if you were using a pen or a pencil. If you're on the computer, however, because it's very difficult with the computer to write the numbers up and down on top of each other, we write them left to right. So again, we start with the date, the time, the sugars. The urine pH will be the next number next to the sugar. And then the saliva pH will be to the right of that. Always remember that. And of course, if you set it up in the columns like this, then you'll always know where to put it, because you'll just read to the top of the column and it will tell you. Okay? So, sugars, urine pH, saliva pH. And that takes care of this lesson. We're pretty much done with that, and we're about a third of the way through the testing. We'll go on to salts next. Thank you.